Welcome to the Convo, the podcast where we dive deep into pressing issues with a fresh perspective, all stemming from just one question. We're your hosts, Mary Rose Otajli and Amina Bala, and today we're tackling a crucial topic that's been making waves globally, the rise of the far right. Now, what is the far right? To some, it is a movement that dictates a way of life. But if we're going to be literal, it can be defined as a spectrum of political thought that tends to be radically conservative, ultra-nationalist, and authoritarian, often also including nativist tendencies. Amina and I are both Nigerian, which is why we've chosen to zero in on what we know. A Nigeria that has normalized to a certain extent the practices and forms of the far right as its society. So, our question of the day: how does exposure to the far right rhetoric and ideologies affect the attitudes and beliefs of young people, particularly in terms of tolerance, diversity, and inclusion, especially in Nigeria? Here to answer our question of the day is our guest, Malum, who joins us from Nigeria. He is a former senior lecturer at Kaduna Polytechnic and a member of the Nigerian Public Relations Institute. He will be discussing his experiences as a Nigerian living with the prevalent far-right agenda. We hope you learn and unlearn as you listen. This is The Convo. Let's talk. Welcome to The Convo, Malum.
Yes, thank you very much for having me.
It's great to have you. For the sake of time, we're just going to jump right in. So, how does exposure to far-right rhetoric and ideologies affect the attitudes and beliefs of young people, particularly in terms of tolerance, diversity, and inclusion?
Well, to answer this question more appropriately within the context of Nigeria as a multicultural, multi-ethnic society, it is to look at it properly from the point of view of what exists in power relations, for example. The importance of ethnic identity has become the factor for power relations in Nigerian society. In Nigeria, we have three major ethnic nationalities, Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, for instance. And then people still extend that to talk about over 500 ethnic groups. I'm talking about, if you like, autonomous ethnic identities on their own that are classified as minorities. So these sub-classifications, for instance, create a superiority for certain ethnic groups against others, and of course creates a stereotype for young people to carry on in their power identity in relation to their dealings with other ethnic groups. So when they grow from this kind of homes that portray their ethnic group as superior or inferior to the other, it affects their relationship too with their peers, either at school or some other levels of socialization. And this goes to a great extent in also affecting their perception about diversity and inclusion and how they tolerate people who are from places other than theirs. So in specific terms, the otherization, what you call how you look at the other people who are different from you, exists in all social strata of Nigeria and has been played up by the differences that we have in terms of our ethnic composition and in some instances to religion. Now, talking about religion, there are two major religions in Nigeria. The Christianity as a faith and then Islam as another faith. So Muslims coexist side by side Christians, and sometimes they are from the same communities, even the same families. But you will find that most of Nigeria's crisis has also been underscored by religious differences. Religion has been responsible for several crises in Nigeria in the past, which has been played up as a factor of difference by the political elites to divide Nigerians across the lines of interest to them. So these two have also been shared as a belief to young people who have held on to these ideologies and have used it as a means of interaction or negotiation of interaction with people who are not from their own ethnic groups. So you find that even in tertiary institutions in Nigeria, depending on the geographical location, and the configuration of ethnic identity or religious identity, you find even friendships are defined by these differences. Even to sit and pair up with classmates, sitting arrangement is influenced by these choices. People want to pick seatmates or partners or classmates who they interact with based on these kinds of differences. So these are quite a number of ways that exposure to extreme ideologies have affected young people.
Yes, thank you so much for that. That's very true. I know that tribalism is a very, very big part of Nigeria. It's not the greatest part. It's not something we are essentially proud of, but it's very similar. Like for example, or for instance, the Republican Party in the United States is very, very known for promoting conservative beliefs, much like Nigeria's culture when it comes to tribalism. And as you say, religion is also a part of it. The Republican Party tends to value conservative Christian beliefs, and other parties like the Democratic Party, they can value the same religion and same beliefs, but left-leaning policies do not exactly align with the far right's conservative nature. In Nigeria, you are so right. Like, people will actually choose who to sit with based on their tribe, based on their religion, and that's sort of divisiveness is what is essentially promoted in the far right. Not all the time, but I will say from experience, I've seen it. And I appreciate your response to that, because it is true. The youth are being used in this way and are influenced by not only political parties or their families or their parents, but the fact that their tribes themselves have this sway to push that agenda, for them to then adopt it is something to be worried about. Yeah.
That's it from us on this episode of The Convo. See you next week, same time, as we discuss more pressing issues. Bye.